Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, folks. This is the September 24th meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. I'm not going to go around and introduce everybody. Familiar faces, everybody knows everybody.
You don't want to know these guys.
We're old friends. I do want to let anyone who has not been to a board meeting that if you intend to speak on a particular agenda item, please come to the podium or get our attention online. And once acknowledged, give us your name and address and let us know what your question, concern would be, and we'll do it that way. We'll follow the agendas published. We have a fairly short agenda, so hopefully get out of here at a decent time. I want to point out our two emergency exits to the left and right. Should we have to leave the room, please note where they're located. I think we can move on to privilege of the floor. Is someone here or there online want to address the board regarding an issue that is not on the agenda? Now would be the time to do so. Okay, I'm assuming everyone's here to talk about a specific item on the agenda, so we'll move on to the first. Excuse me, I should also say there were two public hearings tonight, one for a SUP, a special use permit, one is for a subdivision, and they were advertised in the Daily Messenger on the 17th of September. So they were duly published, and I can report that. Okay, let's now move on to the first item agenda, CPN 2024-068, West Tur Honda. Jim and Josh, you're up again.
We're back.
Yep. So I think the last time you were here, there were some corrections you had to make to the plans, additions you had to make to the plan. We had talked about maybe some additional landscaping in and around the parking lot, and I think you're here to report what you've accomplished.
Yes, then Josh Saxon, Patrick Associates of Engineering, Jim Mocha, with West Tur. So per last meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, majority of the discussion revolved around landscaping. Granted that we were meeting some of the tree requirements, this board saw that, you know, some more landscaping and beautifying the lot more was something that you guys wanted to see, not just the minimum of trees, but adding in additional vegetation. So our intent for that was adding in, you know, a lot more shrubs and stone mulch around the lots, in addition to some active trees surrounding the lot to really kind of beautify the lot, so it's not just a couple of trees, grass in the parking lot. That we have, you know, shrubs and trees and things surrounding it, so it's kind of beautified from all sides. The only caveat being the eastern side, where there's the swale, and then obviously the wetland where we didn't want to plant a lot of vegetation. So, and then there was a couple other notes that we added. A phosphorus note, that was one of the comments. You know, no phosphorus for the standard note for that. A couple of revisions, adding stabilized construction entrance, fixing a couple of spelling errors and things along those lines.
I think you made some changes to the stormwater management down in the
yeah, it was
right-hand corner.
So that was the.
Let me go to that, Kim. That
the grading plan. Yeah. So that those two kind of storm retention areas in the south there, those didn't change since the last time we discussed it, but they were changed from the initial submission, where, you know, they were just kind of flowing to the south, but we added in more attention to the southern basins in the parking lot to, you know, have some stormwater management there. So it's not just all sheet draining into the site, but it has an actual management area to pull up and then eventually get into the existing site.
So everything coming off the parking lot will be directed to that lower right-hand corner there.
Right, and then there's one also on the left side of it, that kind of gravel patch area, that's the stabilized construction entrance. There's also a smaller retention area to the west there as well to capture some of the other sheet drain from the parking lot.
The one that's in the lower right-hand corner, you have some sort of catch basin there.
Yep.
Collected. Then you have, I think, a 12-inch pipe.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to an existing inlet catch basin. And then it makes a obtuse turn and goes along that 12-inch pipe that runs parallel with the building, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any concern about possibly surcharging that? Being that the flow is sort of coming down, almost has to have eyes to make the turn there, and you're also sort of have that flow from the building itself, which I guess are roof drains coming off the. There's an 80-inch pipe that comes off the building itself. Yeah,
and then there's surface runoff from the surrounding pavement. I mean, existing conditions now have it sheet draining in, obviously pavement that will increase the runoff rate by going in. But that was the intent of the stormwater areas to hold back some of that water so that it's not all just dumping in from the runoff there, that there is a retention area that can.
So that will act as a choke.
Choke.
Okay, so it does have some retention. So then the 12-inch is undersized because you can control it in the base. Okay. Well, it's your issue. It's not something you're going to have to live with. There's a problem there with surcharging it. I just thought maybe that should be a bigger catch basin where the three pipes come together. So we'll try to get it in a 2x2 basin. So it just seems awfully challenging. But anyway, board members, anything else?
My only comment was the one that the ECB brought up about the plantings that might be.
I saw it was posted last night. I saw it was the update, but it looks like there was just some species that they wanted to be swapped out for others.
Okay, you good with that then?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll make those revisions, make sure that they have the correct species for the recommendations.
And I do appreciate you guys sort of being halfway on this thing, because I know there's a challenge with trying to compatibility of car dealership and the FBC code. I think by doing this shrubbery and landscaping that you proposed here, that would certainly sort of meet us halfway. I appreciate you doing that. I think it'll make for a better looking frontage, as well as I think it'll be an asset to you folks too. Okay, board, anything else?
No.
All righty. Anybody in the audience regarding West Turk? Okay, if not, I guess we can move on to action items. This is a unlisted action. Okay. So we have a part 1 submitted by the applicant, and part 2 and 3 have been filled out by MRV. Anybody have any issues with the seeker determination? If not, someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'm just finding it. Sorry.
No,
I'll make a motion for the seeker termination of significance for 24068 for this. Am I in the right one? Yes.
Yep.
Undisclosed address, State Route 332 in the form-based code district.
I'll second that.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. I do see we're referring to the plans last revised on the 17th, which I think is the latest drawings. So with that motion and that second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's move on to the site plan.
I'll make a motion to approve a single stage site plan resolution for West Hare at State Route 332 CPN 284-068 for approval with any additional, I guess,
one additional comment for the landscape plan modifications for one addition.
So that was the 12 conditions. 13. I'm sorry, 13.
I'll second that, 13 conditions.
Okay, do we want to, other than having the minutes, the confirmation that the applicant will comply with the ECD swap out of it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you made that, that's the 13th, okay. And the lot line adjustment, are you intending to still do the lot line adjustment to
Yes.
merge the lots?
Yep.
Does that necessarily have to be done related to this action?
I would say, what was the question?
The lot line adjustment that West intends to do to merge the two lots. I mean, we're looking at a parking lot layout on one lot, on one of the lots, although they do.
Because otherwise you're granting site plan approval for a parking lot
Without,
on a lot. A separate parking lot, which is forbidden in our code.
Yeah.
So if you just condition.
That's
the
why
lot
we
line
asked for
adjustment,
conditional
yeah.
approval.
okay, well then that's.
That's in there as number 12.
Okay. You're way ahead of me. I'm sorry, I'm missing. What number?
Number 12. 12.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it covered then. So you made a motion, Bob?
And
Mark second.
Mark second.
I second that.
Mark made a second. Okay, any further discussion on that? Let me just check the notes. Fletcher, stormwater. Yep, took care of landscaping. You got the SHPO letter. Have you gotten any response in the wetland evaluation report? Back yet? I mean, that was back in June of last year, right? Well, I think you're delineating the wetlands as you determined it to be, what it's determined to be in terms of federal, state. How restrictive it is, I guess it'll be determined at some point, but at least you're showing them on the plans.
Yeah, Earth Dimensions did the delineation report for us. You know, we've used them on all of our projects. Just kind of
Okay.
trust their guidance.
All right, so that concludes my discussion of the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, fellas.
Great. Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
All right, at this point, I'm going to hand the chair over to Bob, since he was involved in the initial discussion of CPN 2024-084, which is a continuation of a public hearing regarding a property 4410 Middle Cheshire. Bob?
Yeah, hi. So we got Brad online. Is that correct? He's not unmuted.
Unmuted now. Hi, guys.
I just want to go over some of the things that we talked about last meeting, just to recap everything. And this is a public meeting that's still open. We left it open at the last meeting. The property is at 4410 at Middle Cheshire Road. You're looking for an additional 6 people to stay in your place, currently 12, with a short-term rental permit. Last meeting, we talked about your property boundaries, which you brought forth a map that you're going to include to your guest. We talked about the driveway. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more than in the future just now. We talked about the report from Code Compliance, which was received. We now have that report, and that was according to the Code 220-35, as we were talking about from our lawyer. We talked about your neighbors' discussions, 1 in favor, 1 not in favor. We're going to go through Town Code 220-35 and make sure that's good with everybody. We talked about the special use potentially just only going to be for 1 year, depending on the trial. You requested that waiver for a professional site plan. We saw that. And just to recap what I've seen so far back into the cloud is code compliance letter we received, like I just said, property boundaries, Ontario Planning Board sent it back to us with comments to review. The statement of operations, I will say is missing a few things according to the town code. 220-35A2 is just missing, I think, hours of operations. So I think that needs to be looked at. And also on the report from code compliance, was there no past complaints or code violations? So with that, Brett, what would you like to add?
I don't have anything to add. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to speak. I think you mentioned that there's no hours of operations on the statement of operations, but there's a second version. I'm not sure if you're referring to the second version that was uploaded that does have quiet hours listed.
I think your quiet hours was in I saw it in the rules of the house. I think I once saw that in. I'm not sure if I saw that in them.
There's a statement of operations. My property manager went to the ordinance committee and they reviewed the statement of operations and asked her to include that could be the second one if you just scroll down.
That too shows quiet hours are between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m.
I'm sorry, hey Brad,
Hey,
where did your property manager go?
I believe it was the ordinance committee. Where's
Oh, is it PRC?
PRC.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
okay?
We have a statement of operations uploaded by Sarah Giacchino on July 17th. I think that's it. I don't
Yeah,
see it.
It's in there. It's in there.
Where's the other one?
No,
That's
that
the one.
one
Yeah.
has
Oh, that's
in
it.
there.
That's the most recent.
Under
Okay.
number 2, yes, under paragraph labeled 2. Second bullet point, Please respect the noise curfew. Quiet hours are between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m.
Those are quiet hours, they're not operating hours, though.
Is the operating hours?
So the operating hours really are 24 hours a day.
Every hour?
So that's one thing I just noticed on it, but so is that any discussion from the board before I go on?
There was a comment about fire truck access. I don't see that an issue, is it? I drove down there yesterday, Sunday, and I mean, it's narrow, but there's a turnaround.
I think in the letter that we got,
There
There was-
neighboring. He said the fire truck would be able to
Right.
take it up the driveway,
But
which I
in-
don't agree with. There was a question of the condition of the driveway as well.
Maybe I'm missing.
So that was the only topic that came up. Right, the access and whether or not the driveway was fit for the application. But
It was the driveway was commented on specifically by the fire chief, I believe, and the fire marshal.
Right, they did say that, you're correct.
This is survey.
I think it's in our purview though, to review that, for 18 more or 6 more people, you're asking to go up that driveway. It's an 8-foot driveway and it's kind of falling apart.
I don't believe it's an 8-foot driveway.
I measured it. It's really tight. The code, our code currently, it's pre-existing condition now, non-conforming, but our code is 12 feet driveway. There is a turnaround at the very top, which is good, because your driveway is over 250 feet. So, and according to the fire department in the report that we received, it said that they did not have a problem with it. So, that's the only thing I can go on that, was that statement, and there's nothing else, no other statements that came in referring to that. So with that said, I think what we need to do, Chris, right, is to go through 35.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Bob. I think that's appropriate. First, though, I guess we could answer questions in correlation with going through that. If that makes sense.
Sure,
Want me to read it out?
please.
And I will point out that MRB Group and Mr. Cooper here did very well on this proposed resolution. He listed them as findings in the resolution. So, and we can adjust them, but that's exactly what we need to do. So first is the submission requirement, a sketch plan, and as part of your findings, you have to find that the applicant submitted everything there was. One, a sketch plan in compliance with Town Code 220-66. A statement of operations, fully describing the nature and scale of the use, the land and the facilities to be impacted, and the hours of operation. Building plan showing all areas to be impacted by the proposed special use, sufficient to identify potential New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code compliance issues. And 4, all other information as may be required by the town staff and the planning board to determine compliance and with applicable requirements. Now, obviously, the statement of operations may not include the hours of operation. 220-34C does allow the planning board to waive for good cause and with findings, reasons stated why you're willing to waive. In this case, it's up to you, but you know, it seems like it's a 24-hour-a-day operation, and that's implied. If you're comfortable with that, you can implicitly waive that element. So now I guess I'll read out section B, which is a number of items, and you guys can comment and discuss. Number 1, the proposed special use is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the town's comprehensive plan.
So on this, I tried to look at the comp plan today, but the link is broken. So our new website. So can you confirm, I mean, can you discuss that a little bit with your history?
Eric Cooper, can you encyclopedia brain
try to run
comp plan?
Yeah,
Get the author right.
I believe that supporting tourism is in line with the comprehensive plan objectives. Obviously, short-term rentals are an important, modern way to support stimulating the economy through tourism. The various other things that I can recall being the comprehensive plan protecting agricultural areas, I don't think it's inconsistent with that. Transportation wise, I don't think it's inconsistent with the impacts of transportation from Middle Cheshire Road and Johnson Road. And I would suggest, based on my understanding of the town's comprehensive plan, that it's in line with the goals and policies.
Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah.
2, the proposed use is consistent with the stated intent of the zoning district in which it occurs. That's the AR2 Agricultural Rural Residential District. The stated intent is in section 220-15A purpose. The purpose of the AR2 Agricultural Rural Residential District is to encourage a proper environment to foster normal agricultural operations and land uses, to maintain an open rural character, to protect viable agricultural soils and areas, to conserve natural resources, and to assure compatible types and densities of residential development on lands where public sewers do not exist and are not envisioned in the future, and where public water service coverage is intermittent.
So I verified on AR2 that fits within the parameters, and also that a tourist home is part of that zoning, allowed in this zoning.
Their tourist home is especially permitted use in the AR2.
In the AR2 zone.
Okay. That.
Okay.
Is the board comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yeah, and the fact that short-term rentals are permitted in the entirety of the town. So I think it's consistent with them.
Lenny?
3, the location, size, and use of the structures involved with the proposed special use permit, nature and intensity of the special use permit operations, size and layout of the site in relation to the proposed special use are such that it will be compatible with the orderly development of the zoning district where the special use permit may be allowed.
So I would agree with this because they're not building anything new, pre-existing condition.
Okay. Well, while we're talking about size and use of structures, looks like there's a couple sheds on the property. Does anybody have any questions or is there concerns about those? Brett, if you could comment, are those available to the tenants?
No, actually that parcel with the sheds on it was sold to my neighbor.
Oh, wait,
So there are no more sheds.
wait.
They're
Right. You got a survey that shows a couple sheds.
Unless you have an old survey.
This is 4410?
yeah, it's back in the top right-hand corner, like in a small fenced-in area. There's a small shed there.
Let me just see which.
There's a frame out building and a shed.
Yeah, that survey is from 2021. There's a new survey.
The property boundary document that was submitted, it does not show any of the sheds on the property.
Yeah, my apologies. That survey is not the most recent survey. In 2022, we sold that parcel to my neighbor. I can upload that if you guys don't have a copy of that.
So to answer the question, there's no additional outbuildings on the property.
There are not.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Okay. 4, as determined by the code enforcement officer, the facilities to be impacted by the proposed use will comply with the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code.
With the letter in place now, that is good.
Asked and answered.
Yep.
Okay. 5, the operation of the proposed special use is no more objectionable to the users of nearby properties by reason of dust or smoke emission, noise, odors, fumes, pollution of air or water, including subsurface waters, unsightliness or similar conditions, than would be the operation of any permitted use.
So Brett, this is the one I will just say, with the past, there is no complaint against you. Just say that. And I understand what your neighbor on Johnson said the other day about the noise. And you said that was only because of COVID, and you said it's not going to happen again. And our code actually says no events, none of that. So with that being said, and past history being past history, is the reason also on number 5 here, where I'm going to suggest if we get to that point, it's a 1-year special use permit to validate your use of that property.
Okay, sure. I appreciate that.
So in terms of unsightliness, odors, then would be any permitted use in the district. In this district, 1 single family dwelling per lot, 1 single family dwelling with accessory apartment, commercial greenhouses or warehouses on lots of 5 or more acres. Is this lot still over 5
6
acres?
acres,
Okay.
6, I believe, something.
It is, yeah.
Keeping, breeding, and raising of bovid and equids. Keeping, breeding, and raising of fur-bearing areas, animals, swine, and fowl. and agricultural uses and agricultural structures. So those are the permitted uses, and you have to make a finding that these are no more objectionable in terms of noise, odor, et cetera, than those permitted uses.
I would say personally, and I admitted this last meeting, that I live on Johnson Road. You don't have horses or any animals up there. You're just an Airbnb, and there's horses in the area already. So I don't think that this special use permit would invoke any of those additional issues. I would hope not.
Where applicable, satisfactory provision and arrangement has been made concerning A, ingress and egress to property and proposed structures with particular reference to vehicular and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow and control, and access in case of fire or catastrophe.
Do you provide your guest like a fire, how to get out of the building, how to leave, and all that stuff?
They're definitely made aware of the location of the extinguishers. I'm not sure if there's a formal fire exit plan that they're provided with. I probably not, but there's multiple exits on each floor.
I've seen another one of these, and they actually provided how everyone's going to get out of the building. Is something you could provide in your book to your guests?
Sure. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
As a requirement.
That's a requirement for the special use permit license.
Yeah, emergency evacuation procedures and means of egress shall be
Yes.
used in the event of a fire, which must be posted in each bedroom.
There you go.
So if that's not done, code would have seen that, hopefully. Yeah, so definitely we need to make sure it's safe.
Said safety, ingress and egress in general, comfortable with.
Yeah.
6B, off-street parking and loading areas where required, with particular attention to the items related to ingress and egress above, and the noise, glare, or odor effects of the special permit use on adjoining properties and properties generally in the district, and the economic impact of the proposed special permit use.
I believe he has enough off-street parking with the parking pad up on top.
Yeah.
And he's so up high on the hill. His neighbor to the south would be the only one, and I think there's a row of hedges there, I believe.
So if I could just ask, and I just glanced at this as we're sitting here in the meeting. I see a survey with a very long driveway coming up from the road from Middle Cheshire. Where it says paved drive, it looks like there's a turnaround. And then there's a house with a parking area. We're comfortable that that's gonna comfortably accommodate 9 cars. And I'm just asking, I'm not certain, maybe you guys are, if you could elaborate on that. So that for this application and in the future, people know that parking is an issue, and usually you're gonna get applications a lot closer to the road than this. But if we make a habit of addressing parking on all of our applications.
We discussed this last meeting, and I believe that there was enough space on the top. I hope you don't use that one turnaround, which is actually for fire access. So I would imagine, Brett, all your parking is on top?
Yes.
It also looks like the driveway between that turnaround and the top lot is wider than the 8.5 feet.
Yeah.
There may be some size,
and it goes up a pretty steep hill.
I think it might be a good idea to have a condition being that parking be labeled. Say lay out your parking spaces so that in the future, if there's enforcement issues, you know, they're allowed to have 9 cars overnight. If there's guests,
That's a great
let's have it
idea.
written down. You can do that, right, Brett? As a
Yeah,
condition.
on there, you mean on that boundary PDF?
Yeah.
Certainly, yeah.
And again, I think parking is going to be an issue on other applications. I don't think we're at risk of people parking on Middle Cheshire Road if they run out of parking up at the house.
So we're in agreement as to the number of spaces?
It's 9 on the top.
Okay, yeah, that's what the statement of operation, parking may not exceed. So 9's enough, so then I guess what you're asking and agree is it should be delineated somewhere. As to where those 9 spaces are.
I don't think it has to be, you know, an engineered stamp
Oh,
drawing.
no.
No,
Draw them on that
We-
survey map.
we request that on all of our special uses anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's well over 2,400 square feet up there according to Encore. So it should be more than adequate for this 9 vehicles.
And there's a garage, right, Brett? I believe there's a garage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're good there with that new condition. Then
6C, refuse and service areas with particular reference to ingress and egress and parking.
What's your trash service for the building? Right,
Finger Lakes refuse disposal.
okay, and they're on a regular schedule and,
Yes.
okay,
Where do they pick up?
Where? At the top of the driveway, next to the garage.
Okay.
okay, so they have,
I would say that should be added to the statement of operations as a condition. Unless it's somewhere that I didn't see,
no.
no.
you know, weekly
Hey,
trash.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah, right, weekly dump trash, yeah.
By private.
Yeah.
And again, it's enforcement. If Brett's providing 1 trash can for 18 people a week. Or, you know, and it's not that we suspect you're gonna do that, it's that we have to get in the habit of making sure this is done on all applications and, you know, there could be someone else managing your property at some point down the road. So the code enforcement and our zoning officer can go in and say, no, wait, you're supposed to have X trash cans. And that's why you've got this giant pile of garbage sitting here that nobody's taking care of.
Which happens frequently, in short-term rentals.
It can really
I've
happen.
heard that.
Yeah,
Well, he must have fixed that because the garbage used to be at the end of the street. They used to be there a long time.
yeah.
So that must have been something you changed, Brett, to pick it up at the house.
Brett, how many cans do you have?
4 garbage and 2 recycling.
Okay, I'd like to see that in the statement of operations so that it can be enforced if necessary.
Hey, Brett, on the service areas and that conversation, who picks up your mail? Because the other day it was overflowing. Just wondering.
My property manager should be picking up. I'll just double check that that's done regularly with the cleaning crew that's there weekly. They should be picking it up.
Yeah, it was stuffed and falling out of the mailbox the other day.
I apologize for that. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah. D, I'm sorry, Chris.
So D.
One more on trash. Does the tenant have to do anything other than put the trash in the can? Do they have to move the cans out of the garage or they're just in a place to be picked up? There's nothing the tenant has to do?
Yeah,
Regarding,
just to put the garbage in the can.
okay. Sometimes, some cases, they actually have to physically drag the can out. And if they forget, it doesn't get picked up and then you have the overflow. Okay, thank you. I'll move on to D.
Okay, D, utilities as appropriate with reference to locations, availability, and compatibility. Presumably there's utilities to this property.
Yeah.
I understand there was an upgrade or
Septic system.
has it been upgraded or is it being upgraded?
That was a question I had also, if it was, I knew the permit, there was a permit on it. I don't know if it was completed or not.
It was completed.
Do we have that in the town?
Like we have verification that the upgrade to the septic has been completed.
I didn't hear anything from Mike Murphy saying that.
All right, well, let's just condition it then.
Yeah, I saw that was out there and didn't see a completion on it. Just for the paperwork there, Brad, we need to make sure it's done. Please.
Okay, yeah, let me make sure to get that uploaded.
It may have been uploaded and you're waiting for review and, you know, final.
Did you put in a separate application for that?
There is.
Yeah, it's a separate application, yeah, so
Okay.
it might even be in there.
Screening and buffering with reference to type, dimensions, and character.
So, like I said before, he's on the top of the hill. I believe there was extra screening added.
I don't think that creates a problem.
Yeah.
The parking will be primarily shielded by the screening along the driveway.
Yeah.
They're gonna adhere to noise concerns so that it's not a problem.
Yeah, I don't see that.
We're good on this, yeah.
Signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with properties in the district. Signs are not allowed for a short-term rental.
But the street number is supposed to be at the street. I don't remember if that was there or not. Is that there, Brett? Their house number at the Middle Cheshire?
At the driveway entrance?
On your access near the pond. That's what the town code is supposed to say. I believe I read it in there. House number shall be visible from the street or road frontage. Yeah.
Can we add that as a condition?
I think it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember it being there.
seeing it.
Maybe that.
It's on the mailbox.
Huh?
It's on the mailbox.
It's on the mailbox.
What's that?
All right.
Yeah, it's a mission, but code
What?
enforcement has to.
No, it needs to be, sure, that's a code enforcement issue, but this is special use permit issue.
He said it's on the mailbox,
Well, let's have that as condition to confirm if we can.
which is across the street.
Yes, that's true.
Go.
Yeah.
Required yards.
Well, wait, if I will say though, I will say your neighbor Brett that spoke in positive of you had multiple people slowing down, trying to get in her access door, in her driveway, thinking her driveway was your driveway. So if you put probably a better street sign on your gate out there, it might be better for her so that she has, potentially less people trying to go up her driveway.
Okay.
I would say that was one thing that she mentioned.
Required yards and other open space.
A lot of open spaces.
No problem.
And with the letter stating the boundaries answers the question that they stay on the property, not on Rome.
H, general compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the zone district. In zone district.
I think we've said that.
I would hope everything that we included here would allow that to happen.
So C, additional requirements applicable to specific specially permitted uses. This is not a specific specially permitted use, so that is not applicable. D, no person shall be issued a special use permit for a property on which there is an existing violation of this chapter. We've confirmed that there isn't an existing violation. Correct. E, not applicable. F, the town planning board may impose additional conditions or restrictions as it may deem necessary prior to approving any special use permit application in order to protect public health and safety, the quality of the town's natural resource base, and the value of property.
And that's where I'm requesting a year for the first year to be a trial period.
So we're gonna have all of that.
That'll be my condition for that one.
So in general, and this is the next section, unless a time limit has been imposed as a condition of approval, Special use permits shall remain in effect for current and future owners, provided the use is in compliance. So you're gonna add as a condition, 1 year, shall expire and require renewal in 1 year.
Right. And understanding too that Brett will need to get another short-term rental permit for the additional also.
Oh, yeah, I think that was the intent of the short-term rental code was.
Yeah, you'll have to get that then this one, or this one then no.
Yeah, and that until things sort of straightened out and settled down with short-term rentals in the town. And the short-term rental operators figured out what needs to be done. That would be a 1 year process.
I think right now it's their 3-year process for them on a short-term rental. It's a 3-year.
But we want to get
Yeah,
to one
currently. I think it's 3 years on a short-term rental.
Yeah, I think that we changed that back to 1 year, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I just don't remember.
Just that he'll have to get a new one for it.
The zoning officer shall make an on-site visit at least once every 3 years. In this case, the zoning officer will be doing that in 1 year because there's going to be a renewal. When required, applications for renewal shall demonstrate, well, that's an application for renewal. So those are your findings. I think that was a good discussion. I think that was a thorough discussion. I don't know, I saw there's some neighbor correspondence. And I know some of these neighbors might be wishing to speak.
Yep, in a second. I will ask Brett, have you read 220 Town Code 220-9.1? Does that sound familiar to you at all?
What is that topic?
Sure. In a nutshell, basically it's all the events that could cause for revocation of your permit.
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Is that short-term rental?
No, it's in here.
So short-term rentals have been switched.
229.1, no?
No, we changed that earlier this year. To chapter 201, which does not appear in your code, I don't think. It's Tim, can you put it up on new laws?
No events shall be allowed in STRs. Events shall include but are not limited to planned occasions, parties, weddings, and other similar activities.
So you already said, Brett, though, in the last time we talked, that you're, even with your statement of operations state that you're not going to have any events, parties, etc. They're just overnight guests.
Correct.
And your number will not exceed the 18 if approved. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Overnight.
And the 9 vehicles for those during that time.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's stated. You understood that. And as Chris is now, I believe, done, anything more from the board members? Questions?
No. The only thing I'm sitting here thinking about, we talked about the overnight, and that would be the maximum of 18. But the code does provide for daytime guests, but be limited to twice the amount of maximum occupancy. So I guess you could have up to 36 daytime guests come over for a picnic, a party, or whatever. That's where the parking could be a concern. I think we've got it pretty well covered as far as the overnight guests, that the 9 spaces are more or less, but we don't have any way of assuring that if you have 36 guests, where are they going to park?
So that's a good question. Right now, he can have 9 cars parked
Overnight.
I don't think it said overnight.
No, it said 9. You're right. 9.
It said 9 cars.
Yeah.
He has
It's
9
36
spaces. He has 9 spaces.
Yeah,
Yeah,
36
parking
people come over. They better come in 9 cars.
Okay.
Now, as planning board, you know that that's not always a good answer, because when 36 people come over and each drive their own car, you get 36 cars lined up and down the road. Don't think that's gonna happen here, because those 36 people would have to take a pretty hike.
So my question truly is that if Brett has stated there's not gonna be any parties or events, how does he get to that 36? Brett, can you talk to that?
Yeah, I can't foresee any circumstance where we'd have any more than 18, to be honest with you. Maybe a few more during the day.
So it's your idea that you're gonna have 18 overnight and then maybe one or two more during the day?
I would think that would be the maximum, yeah. I had
Because
somebody
you're-
once ask if they can have a funeral memorial for somebody, and we actually turned them down. It was over the summer because of, you know, everything that we have going on with the
Max,
application.
time max.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, that's
for a reason, for good reason.
Why wouldn't we just ask him to do a parking study? And then make that the maximum permittable number of vehicles that we allow during the daytime. So if our concern is egress to the property, that means that everybody has to park up top. He can demonstrate that he can get 12 cars up there safely. I would be fine with allowing that to be the maximum daytime automobile at the property, right? And then overnight strictly to the 9, because it's already been a stipulated number.
So, and when we were drafting this law, we thought about it a lot, looked at a lot of resources. The rule of thumb is 1 car per 2 people. When you've got 18 people, it's unlikely that they're gonna show up in 9 cars. Some of them will probably be children driving with their parents. Some of them will carpool. We've got 18 people, they're probably coming from far enough away that they're gonna ride share. That's just a generalization. They're allowed to come in 9 cars. But so I don't know. I mean, if they've got 6 cars parked overnight, 3 more cars come, they've got plenty of parking. If all 18 people show up in 3 cars, you got 6 spots for daytime.
So can we do what you originally said, well, which would be limited to 9 cars? No more
It
than
is
that.
limited to 9
It
cars
is right now, yeah.
Yeah, well,
24 hours. You can't have more than 9 during the day. Still 9 cars.
Yes.
I would say that would answer the question of not having events there, not having parties there. You double the amount of occupancy, then all of a sudden becomes an event or a party when there's 36 people there. So that's what the neighborhood has talked about
Well,
as issues.
Yeah,
And stated that he won't do that.
I know in the
75 people at my house.
in the ordinance committee, when we discussed this, it was thought that, okay, somebody's renting the house, let's have friends from Pittsburgh come over, let's have friends from Fairport, we'll have a party, we'll have a picnic, we'll have a cookout. It's not really an event, but it's a family reunion, a get together, or a happening. And I think that's why we maximized that you couldn't have more than twice the overnight count. But then there's this question of where are these people going to park?
Well, that's kind of why I'm thinking that, I mean, in another one of these, we do have a traffic study that was completed. They can provide a traffic study that shows parking that they can control. So not that they're parking it on Middle Cheshire Road, not that it's parked out in front of the screening, because that's disturbance to the neighbors, and it creates a safe access and egress. And they can demonstrate that, then I don't see a problem with they then have to enforce it. In other words, they come back and we have a problem at the end of the year and we don't reissue the special year permit again. Put that onus back on the property owner to demonstrate that they can handle the daytime cars if it's higher or not. And then it's up to them to either keep it at 9 or 11 or 2, whatever they can control and park.
it's, Mark, is your point that the applicant set the number 9, right? I didn't, that's not my number.
No, it was in the statement of
Is
operations.
that 9 cars? Okay,
9
that's
cars, yeah.
what we're using, that's what we're operating off of, and it's kind of related to the 2 people per car, right? There's 1 car per 2 people. I mean, is the board comfortable with more cars than 9?
No, I'm not.
I just look at it, I'm not trying to be a car expert, but there's 2,500 square feet up top. And at the top of that driveway, it is 14 to 16 feet wide at the top before you get out of the chute. And so there is the potential for them to have more space where it's not a disturbance. The disturbance then potentially becomes the people, the volume of people, which they've limited the volume of people. I don't want us to become parking experts, so I'm suggesting that somebody else does that. And they have to prove to us that they can handle whatever they're requesting. And if the applicant is comfortable with 9, limited at 9, but then don't turn it into a problem in the day.
We can come back in here.
Yes,
Right.
so right now, based on its statement of operations, the applicant is limited to 9 cars at any given time. I think, Mark, you make a really good point, and if it turns out, Brett, you want more parking, you want to be able to have more parking, can come back in and have request an amended special use permit. With a, a parking plan, a parking layout that says, look, I can easily accommodate 12 cars or 30 cars.
And then we can make that
Yeah.
decision.
I don't even see that happening, honestly. We don't plan to have any events.
9 cars.
So good discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to have.
Mark says he's a car expert, parking expert. Did you guys hear Mark talk about what a good parker he is?
Yeah.
Good integral parking.
I had a curve today.
So does that answer your question?
Me too.
If it's limited to 9, yeah, 9
Yeah,
spaces,
so
that's
limited
it,
9.
day and night, that's it.
Very good. So
Yeah.
anything else from the board members? Before we hear from the public?
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, anybody like to speak on the board for this property? Come on up, tell me your name and your address.
My name is Ed Rhino, I live at 5380 Johnson Road, and I share a 1,000 foot property boundary with the applicant. Excuse me. I didn't hear what the answer to the board's question, what the board's answer to the question on compatibility with adjacent landowners was. If someone could clarify that, that would be great.
What was that answer?
It was a discussion of what the neighboring properties are, the zoning properties are, the permitted uses in the zones, and the stated intent of the AR2 agricultural residential district.
So what we discussed was that in the AR2, what zoning is allowed. Of course, residential, and under AR2 in Schedule A, one of them is actually a tourist home. Now, we don't want that, but it says it is allowed, and that's why we're trying to keep it as much as a single family home as much as possible without changing the environment in our area.
What facts are you using to back up?
This is not, I'm sorry, this isn't a plan, you can't, this is a public,
Okay,
you
I'm
can,
sorry, okay.
you can make public
I
statements.
just didn't hear what happened, I'm sorry. Okay, I believe, and my wife believes, that this is incompatible with adjacent property owners and should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else online? Anybody else? No? Nope. I think we can show the public meeting closed. Go for deliberation. Any other board questions or discussions? Nope. So to sum it up, what we're looking at today is a special use permit forcing or occupancy of 18 on a short-term rental on 4410 Middle Cheshire Road with a type 2 seeker also. With several more conditions that we brought up during the meeting here. And also with now the special use permit possibly only going for a 1-year term. And in that 1-year term, it'll be a proving ground to not only the community, but also to Brett to make sure that everything goes according to plan. So with that, anybody else have anything else?
Mr. Vice Chair, I would think that maybe we ought to look at the special use permit resolution first before we take any action. Just go over it to make sure but not vote on it until we've done the seeker, but at least maybe make sure we have everything covered that we want covered on the resolution. So we did add some conditions, I believe.
Yes. Added a condition number 8, the layout of the proposed parking areas and spaces shall be provided prior to the issuance of a short-term rental license. Refuse and service area numbers.
Shall be identified on the plan.
Yep, schedule shall be provided prior to issuance. Additional consideration.
Shall be added to the statement of operations and identified on the plan. I think that's what we're doing. I should say every week we're going to have traffic of this many counts.
Documentation of satisfactory completion of improvements to the wastewater treatment system shall be provided to the town prior to license issuance. Address of the property shall be posted in a conspicuous manner at the driveway prior to license issuance.
I would also recommend quiet hours shall be 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. And there's the reason being is phrased more generously than that in the statement of operations. That being said, applicant shall operate in accordance with the statement of operations. With the approved statement of operations. An applicant shall operate in accordance with the short-term rental permit issued by the town.
And with that last part, Chris, I had marked in my notes the exit plans to be posted.
Yeah, that's
and that's a part of the special.
No,
not short term. Yes.
He doesn't have a short-term rental permit at this point.
Yeah, he does. He does for 12.
For 12.
For 12, but he won't have an 18 until he gets this special use.
So I guess really then the question is, does he have that exit plan in the 12th? I don't know. I didn't see it.
But that'll be confirmed in the 18.
Just to be sure, the address marking doesn't conflict with 0.5 that talks about no signage without an application.
No,
I'm good with that. That's address isn't signage under the town code. But number 5 should be revised to take the sentence out. If signage is requested, separate approval will be required.
And how would we add the verbiage related to the renewable requirement, the yearly renewal requirement?
Condition 1 is that shall remain in effect for the current owner for 1 year. Right, it remains in compliance. You can add language about renewal, but states the reason obviously.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that because in the code it also stated that the special use permit expires if they don't start within a year. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't the same thing.
I think the one is if they don't start in a year, it becomes null and void.
Yeah.
And the other is if they do start,
And it's renewable.
it expires at 1 year.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we captured that properly.
My current short-term rental permit is a 3-year permit or 12. So what do you suggest I do going forward? Do I renew that come in March?
No,
March would be the year.
it expires in 27, I saw.
Did you have a 3-year permit when you signed up, or did you get the 1-year permit for the short-term rental?
It was 3 years at the time. It was in March.
But he still has, okay,
Yeah,
so,
I wrote it down as 3 of 27.
right, so he has a permit for 12 people for 3 years. You're getting you're applying for a special use permit to go over that, so.
So if approved, he has
If
to
approved,
reapply.
right, and then after a year, we will inspect that. Make sure everything is followed to the conditions.
So if he's approved tonight, he
Right.
has to reapply for an 18.
Right.
I see. Okay, so reapply for another short-term rental permit?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Immediately or in March? If approved.
Say that again?
If the timing.
I'm reapplying immediately. If once approved, if approved.
You would have 12 months to decide what you want to do with this. So you could apply for the 18 anytime within that 12-month period.
Okay.
Assuming it's approved tonight or sometime in the future.
So, no, he has to apply for an 18 if approved tonight. He cannot.
Well, he could wait 12 months to do that. Or he could go
Why would he wait?
I'm not suggesting he would, but
Yeah.
his requirement isn't. He could wait 12 months to do that.
And still have the 12.
Yes.
I can look for you guys, I don't know.
Yeah, he has 1 year to apply for, excuse me, for the permit if he's granted special use tonight. If he doesn't, the special use permit is null.
No, why he still stays with 12.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
So he's 12 until he gets a new special use permit for short-term rental.
Right.
Using, I know.
Number 6. Approval specific to the current application, changes such as the number of rooms to be rented, or which room is to be rented by planning board approval.
I believe I added that based on, I don't know, came up in the last meeting, but yeah, but that was my understanding. What's that?
To determine the number of open spaces, or?
No, I think it was more just trying to keep it in line with what's being approved. So you're approving sort of the house plan as part of this. So if you wanted to change your space of the room that you wanted to rent it out.
So what is the number of rooms?
Well, it's
Six.
6.
bedrooms.
6 bedrooms?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
6.
I didn't hear that. They actually
Yeah.
listed them, but the number, it's listed, the number of rooms and how many people in each room.
And that's according to New York State,
Mm-hmm.
not us.
Okay. Understood. Good.
You good? You good?
Oh,
Chris, are you good that we
I'm
got
good. I
everything
think we
covered?
just did that
I
very
mean, we are
thoroughly.
setting our precedent.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we did it the right way from the get-go. The town board and town staff and members of the community on both sides, the owners and the neighbors of short-term rentals, put a lot of time and effort into getting our short-term rental local law just right. Part of that process was, okay, if you get to here, you need a short-term or especially from. And I think what they were contemplating was that the planning board would put this kind of thought and effort into it. And this one, you know, it's a big short-term rental. Fortunately, it's not right on the lake. There are neighbors, you know, 9 feet away from the building walls. It's not right on the road. So some of the site plan issues aren't as intense as they might be in other applications for a short-term rental special use permit that you will see. I would say maybe in the future, you might want to see a sketch plan that's, you know, that has stuff like parking delineated. A requirement for a site plan, a sketch plan is shows setbacks and that kind of thing. You know, you may want to give guidance to staff as to what you'd like to see in the future for applications that aren't 1,000 feet off the road on 7 acres. Just a thought. I think this is what the planning for the town board and the ordinance committee had in mind when they passed this up. Thank you.
Okay, great. For a motion?
Wait for a motion.
Okay. Yeah, it's a type 2.
Type 2.
I'm happy to make the motion on the seeker type 2 for CPN 24-084 4410 Meadow Catcher Road.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm a nay.
Okay,
Nay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna make a motion on the special use permit resolution that we consider the adoption of the special use permit applying to a property at 4410 Middle Cheshire Road for a short-term rental to the maximum occupancy, nighttime overnight occupancy of 18, subject to the conditions that were listed as we went through the deliberations.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Do we have to include the waiver? That confirm that the waiver of the professional plan?
No, they didn't actually need a professionally prepared site plan.
Okay. I wouldn't think so, but I saw this.
Yeah, I saw
requested.
I'll remove that from the findings.
Chris, can you tell me why? Because we do it on all special use permits, site plan, and then they waiver it.
So special use permits and site plan approval is required under town code for any special use permit that involves new development. This is existing. These are existing structures. They're proposing build a short-term rental facility, and it would require site plan. The first section of 220-35, 220-35A says a requirement for any special use permit is at the minimum a sketch plan can prepared in accordance with the requirements of 220-66, which is our sketch plan saying it's got to show this, 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 and this. So it's like a site plan. That being said, if the planning board has reason to, or thinks it would be appropriate, I'm not saying it should be a blanket rule for short-term rental, but if there's issues of concern, if the numbers of people on certain topography might cause drainage issues or parking issues or access issues, you might want to say, well, we're going to need to see a full professionally prepared site plan. That's your option, the specific language, and whatever else the planning board thinks it needs to make a good decision. So if you want to see a site plan and have reason for it, you can absolutely ask that. And you can contact the development office staff directly or bring it up in a meeting. So your call as to how to deal with that.
Thank you. So there was a motion and a second declaration by me. And deliberation is done. All in favor?
Aye.
And a nay. So that would be a pass.
So handing the gavel back to me.
I am. Thank you very much.
You did such a great job, and I should let you take them. You could be the short-term rental guy. All right. Item number 3 on our agenda, CPN 2024-091, Michelle Clark. Is involved with a property at 3407 Westlake Boulevard, requesting a special use permit. You have a short-term rental with a maximum capacity occupancy of 18 occupants. I will open the hearing And someone here representing. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm Jeff Clark.
I'm Michelle
yeah,
Clark.
come. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your property, what you want to do, what you've been doing.
I'm married to Michelle, basically, animal spokesman. We've owned the property.
Wait, hang on just a second. If you don't mind.
Sorry. No, listen to the
All right.
call.
Okay, it's possessed.
I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
So we've owned the property since 1998, for 26 years. Just began renting in 2020. So we've had 4 years of rental experience. We have beds for 16 renters and have kept the home at that number until the recent change, and then we reduced that occupancy to 12. The property is managed by Finger Lakes Premier Properties.
Well, you said 16 beds.
Sleep 16.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, gotcha. Occupancy is 16.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
And the property is managed by Finger Lakes Premier Properties. Those of you who are familiar know that they're very strict with respect to observing both the occupancy and conditions under which the property is used. And so now that there's an opportunity for us to increase the potential capacity to 18, that's the, we apply for that opportunity. We have no current plans to rent it out at 18. We will continue to keep it at 16 for the foreseeable future. Just wanted to make sure we had that opportunity.
Okay.
We also, you may know that we sent a note out to all of the members of the HOA describing the request and the course of action, offered them an opportunity to discuss it with us. We received no response.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the HOA. Is it a permittable use? Does the HOA allow for the rental?
It does.
It does. We had a situation in another community where the HOA did not approve it, so. Not that it was something we enforced, but it was something that was certainly part of our deliberations to consider.
An attorney and represented an HOA once and decided they were going to do it.
Good move. Okay. You heard the discussion we went through with the last applicant. So I assume most, if not all of it, apply to your situation. The concerns we have, or the concerns that were brought up with the previous application. Anything that you heard regarding our concerns that you can address at this point, or you just want to wait for us to bring them up?
Well, no, that all seemed very familiar. I used to represent the planning board in the town of Mendon for a number of years, and so I'm familiar with this process. And all of that was very familiar, and nothing seemed out of line with our understanding of how the property is managed by Finger Lakes Premier Properties.
You have a current permit for occupancy of 12, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming since you were with Finger Lakes, you had 16, you were renting 16 people at a time until last year.
Correct.
Or whatever, and had to drop it to 12.
Correct.
And now would like to go update. Finger Lakes does follow the rules and told all of their clients, if you don't have a permit for whatever number you think you can fit, you are not going to advertise on our website for an amount in excess of what you are allowed by what the permits.
Yeah, they're very strict managers. Obviously, they have a reputation to protect as well.
So you mentioned that there is indeed a formal HOA on this property.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Is there a shared access agreement?
I don't believe so. There's a single driveway that comes down Westlake Boulevard, and then separate driveways divide off of that. And presumably there's a shared arrangement with respect to that common access point.
The reason I'm asking is, I understand that you stated that the neighbor didn't take the opportunity to talk to you, but they did take the opportunity to send us a number of letters. So that you should be able to see and file from it as well. In one of those, they refer to those topics. They refer to the fact that they've asked for help from the property and they've never received it related to the community access and the roadway and things. You also indicate parking for 5 more vehicles off of what would be the neighborhood parking area. Is there anything that does give access to that area, to this property specifically?
We've had, there's space, comfortable space for 4 down below, and then an upper lot has another 4 to 5 spaces. And we've always used that comfortably with all of our neighbors. We've never had an issue before.
Just happens to be right in front of our property, because we're kind of the middle house, but everybody uses it and nobody's ever had issues with us that have told us that there's a problem.
I actually appreciate your parking study. I was using that as an example. So that does do a nice demonstration of it. I just want to make sure that it doesn't become a problem for you later. If that's shared access up there that's not owned by you, then we have to take into a condition of what, well, if we approve it, then it's up to code enforcement to drive any complaints that you received from that. But that's where I would have a concern, is if there's not a shared maintenance agreement on that portion of it, and then you have a challenge where somebody says, well, or they decide that there's somebody going to park their 5 cars there. Now you don't have the room that you may need if we use that rule of thumb of 2 people per car. So that's the thought process in the question.
We just became aware of that letter you referenced. We're not sure where that came from. We pay all of the fees that are required of us. Again, Finger Lakes Premier Properties manages that property in accordance with all of the regulations. In fact, I grew up with our next door neighbor and I grew up with his brother, and I'm not sure where all of that is coming from. We've lived next to them for the entire time we've been renting, and we've never made a complaint of their business.
So it looks like there's 6. How many people in the HOA?
I would say a dozen, maybe.
Yeah.
We got 6 letters from neighbors.
Yeah.
Do you want time to look at those?
We were just the member manager of the family LLC that owns this was just texting us, indicating that we had just looked at those, and so we understand that 5 of those were just an objection to the number, the occupancy number of 18. We thought that was too many, and I don't know if their objection is a general one that they think that occupancy is too many for anybody on the lake, or if it's specific to our property. Again, we understand that the regulations and fully committed to manage this property in accordance with them.
Looks like it's possible for you to, you said 4 down by the house parking spots.
Yeah.
But it looks like you could fit
6 cars.
Yeah.
You got 6 there, and it looks like you could fit more, right?
Yeah, there is, that's true. No.
And we use the home, a number of months during the year, and we've had lots of cars down there.
You show 11, but wouldn't the max be 9 cars?
That's really a planning board decision. There is no maximum parking.
Would certainly be agreeable to a permit condition.
There is, per bedroom. So you said you had 6 bedrooms?
6
bedrooms.
6 bedrooms. One of them is quite large.
Can you get 9 around that circle. And it looks. Because, so up top, do max out at 9 on property. They have daytime guests that park up here, they're not really subject to your special use.
Well, that's what I would say, would be, if you could put 9 on your property, then that would be a much easier sell.
Yeah, because then it provides the screening, it provides a lot of the issues that could arise that somebody at the town's gonna get a lot of calls on saying, hey, we've got a problem.
Well, in 26 years of ownership.
Typically what we do is we put one here right in front of the front door, and we let that one. We have a lot of us getting rooms down there, so we can put them there. We really rarely use this. I don't think many of our renters ever use
In 26 years of ownership, we've never had anybody park anywhere but in front of the house or using a few spaces to park.
I guess my mindset in asking some of that is I would, if this is your intent, that I would ask that you come up with a solution that places them all on your property. If you then use that other piece and your neighbors don't create a concern for you, that's up to the neighborhood at that point because there's not a shared use agreement.
Yeah.
So, but I'm assuming that moving forward, because of the diligence that has gone into this, we'll do our best to be consistent, to follow the same conditions that we just did in the last property and all properties. So as a result, we want to try to minimize that and you'd be restricted to the same 1-year type of condition. That would be my recommendation. And if that happens, then, and it comes back in a year and everybody says, boy, parking is a nightmare, then we can estimate that we'll probably, whatever board and may then tell you that you can't do that. So just trying to align the uses is what I'm trying to do.
Certainly, it's certainly something.
Bob, on that previous application, the first meeting you had, obviously, I think you had requested and we got from the code enforcement officer an inspection of certification of compliance. I think we need that for this, because I think it's tough to expand on a permit or a number if we are not sure or we don't have some sort of certification that, the current operation is in compliance.
Would that be given by the code enforcement officer?
Would be, yeah, by a code enforcement officer. And I asked him today if he's done one, and he said no, none had been requested. And he said typically it's the applicant that makes that request. So if you could request him to provide a inspection certification that you meet the current standards as far as your current permit, that would go a long way in helping us to say, okay, we know you're in compliance now.
You bet.
Let's move forward. Okay. And I think the other thing we just discussed and we asked for was you're showing the possibility of having the 9 spaces on the lot. Not part of the common parking. But you thought you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else the board?
Well, I guess we'll have to check with our code enforcement, but I don't think they need 9 spaces. I think.
Well, that was the other. You had said something about you had 16, you went back to 12, and you'd like to go back to 16.
We'd like to go to 18, but currently the facility only sleeps 16, so that's what it's being rented out. 16,
Okay.
It's occupancy at 16.
Well, you're only doing 12.
Well, we're currently only doing 12.
Right, okay, good.
They can only do 16, but they'd like to have 18.
Yeah. Without trying to tell you what to do, my recommendation would be put in your statement of operations the number of vehicles that you believe that you need and can put in your property safely to get good egress. When I do a quick measurement by the front door, that's approximately 20 feet wide. So I think more than you show there is possible, but I don't want to tell you what to put in. I would recommend that you put in what you would think you would need in your statement of operations.
And take the ones out.
And take them out up top.
And I'm sure you appreciate this.
is our home as well, and we're not anxious to have it overrun by people having a good time at our expense. And so we do need to use some prudence in what we request, because we certainly don't want to turn this into something that shouldn't.
We also talked about hours of operation being in your statement.
We do have quiet hours as well, just like this other, yeah, the same, yeah, Finger Lakes requires that, yeah.
It's not, it's not in.
I like the boundaries that you saw. Did you see that go up? It had yellow lines for the last guy. I think that's a very good idea. I think we left that out of our short-term rental law. And I regretted it after.
Identifying property boundaries?
Yeah, for your tenants, for your guests, so that they don't go fishing off your neighbor's dock, right. And then your neighbor gets all annoyed and calls.
Right. Yes. I assume these will be permanent conditions if the permanent applications granted.
I think, well, it's up to the board. We want to see this, the layout, the parking layout at the next meeting, and then
the certification of inspection.
Oh, yeah. So we'll come back, and then and then there would be condition. Bring that stuff back, and I think you'll want to take a look at these neighbor letters and have answers. I think some of them are answerable, and you might want to have that opportunity to respond.
Sure. As with, I mean, the special permit, you can always request a change, and it just brings it back to the use for the special, for the approval for that change. So if you put in 2 cars and then decide you need 4 cars or whatever, and anything that we put in, and you can request a change later, it's just a question of whether or not it gets approved.
There's minimum for parking requirement for short term.
I don't think there is. You can have 18 with 8 parking spaces.
Yeah,
if
no,
the board is comfortable with that. But there's no actual technical requirement. Either way, more or less.
Okay, I was looking for that provision that it be somehow delineated where your property lines are, so that guests don't wander off the property.
Yeah. I forgot to put it in the.
I think it's in right.
Yeah.
Also condition 7.
Eric's got it. Belts and suspenders. We got them all the way around. As far as the address of your property, you heard that come up in the previous. I assume that's been your street address is clearly marked at the property.
Yeah, I believe
so. Up the driveway.
At the front of the driveway.
Okay.
The front.
That's
yeah.
That's for guests as well as emergency vehicles, and certainly good to have that there.
You guys still spend time there?
We do.
Good. That's just nice part, piece of property there.
Yeah.
It's awful, the water's really low there, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
you can walk out and ferry.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have trouble getting the boat out.
All right.
Premier Properties, they usually have a brochure, don't they?
Yes.
Is that something we could see that applies to your property as to what the restrictions that you have on the property?
Sure, we can.
Okay. Anything else?
Maybe your listing need them. We probably need to do it. That probably have all your rules and everything, right?
Yeah.
Anything else that you need from the applicant? Okay, well, our next meeting is October 8th. And if the board's so inclined, I guess I would look for a motion to continue the hearing until the 8th. I will, excuse me, I do want to ask if anybody's online that'd like to speak regarding this application, since you took the time to show up. Certainly we'd like to hear from you. Anyone out there? Okay, if not.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Hill.
Good evening. We can
We're
hear
at
you.
33.
Your address again?
3395 Westlake Boulevard.
Okay, Elizabeth,
And the concern is the volume of traffic and cars on the track, particularly with the fact that this is something that is maintained by the residents all along the track. And an additional concern is if you make the exception for one to be at 18, I don't know if there are any other rental properties on the track or not. Then if you get another one, you set a precedence for this one to make it 18. And what is the long-term impact for the residents for the financial upkeep of the road, the wear and tear? Because that track serves both sides, north and south, and I've lost count of the number of homes on the track.
okay. I think some of those concerns you have either were discussed or certainly will be discussed as we move forward with this application. Thank you for your input. And we are going to continue this hearing until our next meeting, which is the 8th of October. So hopefully some of your concerns could be and may be answered.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, someone want to give me a motion to continue to the, I think we have a resolution from Eric on that.
Yep, we got a continuing resolution for CPN 24-091 3407 Westlake Road. Adding the requests under the third whereas statement of operations to include a map of the property so that renters can see it. We'd like to see a flyer of the property listing the conditions. I'd like to see if we can find out if there's a maintenance agreement on the roadway, a shared use agreement on the roadway, and a definition of parking on the property. Have I captured? That would be my motion, assuming I've captured all the conditions in it.
We'd also request an inspection certification of compliance.
Okay. Inspection certification of compliance as well.
It's just a requirement.
Yeah. Sure. And did we say property lines? You want to?
Yep. He said.
Oh, you said property lines. Okay.
And just to be clear, your definition of parking, removing the.
Yeah, nothing on the shared. So my recommendation is that they request what they think they need to accommodate the 18 on the property that they own, not the shared use site on the road.
Okay.
That would be my motion.
So that would be included in the resolution. Okay. All right. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion second to continue to the 10th, excuse me, 8th of October. All in favor?
Aye.
That would mean that we need the materials by October 1st.
Chuck, if I may, just our short-term rental law says that each STR property shall provide a minimum of one off-road parking space for each bedroom located on durable surfaces such as driveways, not grassed or landscaped areas. The planning board, in considering a special use permit required by this chapter, may require more parking spaces to be provided if, in their discretion, it is determined that additional parking would be appropriate or otherwise ensure the health, welfare, and safety of the guests, neighborhood, or community. So we do have a standard, and that standard is one per bedroom and can be increased at your discretion.
Which we did on the last one for half of the residents.
Okay. So folks, we'll see you next month.
Great. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thanks for your time. All right, let's move on to the next item.
Have a good night.
CPN 2024-093. This is a subdivision submitted by Anthony Venezia for a property owned by Travis Woolley at 5684 Bunnell Road. And it involves a subdivision into 2 lots. And I know Travis is online. Travis, you want to tell us a little bit about what you want to do out there?
Yes, in short, I bought the property, so we didn't have any further development there across from my parents. And I'm subdividing off the house portion to sell to a friend of mine that lives in the hamlet of Cheshire and wants to have a little more space. So I'm selling him the house, and the rest I'm maintaining and doing hay off of for my farm activities. The weird shape was in 2 parts. One for the solar array that has its own meter and applies power to a remote location, but for which isn't financially feasible, so that will be removed. The second part is because I am looking to work on purchasing some land to the north and to the east of this lot that would adjoin and connect it potentially to the public water on Gooddale Road to get off to a well someday if needed. So that's my master plan. So I'm subdividing to sell the house off to a friend of mine and maintain the rest of my farm.
Okay, and Travis, when you were in earlier, we talked a little bit about the some of the regular shape of lot 2. And you had mentioned something about the possibility that, well, you have no intent to build anything on it, but the possibility of merging it in common deed with an adjacent property?
Correct. The land to the north, prior owned by Ken Naples, and then to the east, there's a piece that was Renee Forbes property as well on Bunnell Road. Because we have a large changing of farming practices, unfortunately, in our area, which we all know about. Is you don't make money farming unless you have a day job too. So a lot of farmers are getting out of it and trying to get in, since I do it on the side, to continue to maintain part of that lifestyle, because I feel value in it. And we have family property on Bunnell Road as well.
Travis, can you tell us for the board, for the record, what you're going to do with those solar panels?
Yes, they're going to be, I'm going to remove them, disassemble them and remove them from site because of when I purchased it, the paperwork for the panels was not transferred over as it was supposed to be. So therefore the company that maintained them and had the warranty on them and installed them disavows that they had anything to do with them. So it's not viable for me to have panels that I can't get somebody to maintain, and RG&E is not providing income from. So that's the one bad solar story for the town. I have a history of solar activity that's been good, but that one's going to come out.
And they did service that house, right?
No, they did not. That's unique setup. They had their own meter, and providing power remotely to the prior owner's son's house on Paris Street Extension. And in the time when they were put up 10 years ago, that was legal. Now, the laws have changed, and you cannot legally have solar power put to a remote location to tie into the existing dwelling. So I did get grandfathered in, but there's so many costs to it. Basically, RG&E, owes $3 a month electricity. I have to pay them $80, so it's not financially feasible.
Thank you. Bottom line, they're coming off that property.
Yes, sir. I'd hope to keep them, but yep, they're coming out.
So the existing house is on well and septic. The well is shown on the blue dot there on lot 1. Okay, so that's it's been duly located. You have some steep slopes in the back of the property. And they've been marked. And there's no water courses on the property.
No. No blue streams.
Okay, hot off the press today, we got from the ECB, their review. Did everyone see that?
Yeah, they comment on the same thing. There's just some steep slopes on, it's just future development, not necessarily related to the subdivision, but steep slopes.
You're questioning what the reason for the subdivision is. Okay. So I think they've been addressed. Septic note is there about this is not approving a building lot, so that's there. Sure. Anything else, board? I think. Oh, let's move on. Anybody from the audience want to address the board regarding this subdivision out in Bunnell? If not, I think we're ready to move on. It is a subdivision, so it's unlisted action for seeker. Let's do that separately.
I'll make a motion to approve the seeker resolution on the unlisted action for 5684 Brunel Road, CPN 24-093 for approval.
I'll second.
Got a motion, a second. Anything, Eric? I think the latest revised plan was 822. Came in. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, for the seeker, the part 1 was submitted by the applicant. Part 2, do we have any comments on the impact assessment? No. Those responses apply. If they do, then we sign part 3. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's move on to the subdivision itself.
I'll make the motion for a single stage subdivision, but for CPN 24-093 at 5684 Funnel Road.
I'll second that.
Okay, looks like 2 conditions. No further conditions to be added. I don't see any.
Can you read those aloud, please?
One is it's a single stage subdivision approval with conditions specified area valid for 180 days. And second, the payment in lieu of set aside for the parkland upon the issuance of building permit. That's need to be paid. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Travis. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. I will soon, and it's great to see Eric back in the townhouse. Just want to say that. So have a good night.
See you too, Travis.
You dress is good, nice.
All righty. Next one, CPN 2024-090. Marks Engineering, 2046 Reeser Road. Site plan approval for a construction of a new home. Logan. Good evening.
Good evening. Logan Rockcastle, Marks Engineering. Proposing single family residence on this parcel. Currently vacant land, but parcels to the north and south both have single family houses as well. So it fits with the character of the community. It also fits with the zoning of the current district. I believe it's AR2. So we're proposing single family residence with a garage, hooking up to water main, no sewer in that area. So we are proposing a wastewater treatment area. The way it sits on the property, it's kind of on a knoll. So the way the water comes off the hill, we're diverting it around. And as you can see, we also have downspouts connecting to a pop-up emitter that takes it to a swale. And then there's a what we're calling a vegetative strip which kind of slows the water down per se and allows it to infiltrate there as a means of stormwater mitigation. It's pretty straightforward as far as site plans goes. We meet all the criteria for setbacks, coverage, things of that nature. If you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Well, we're gonna have a couple.
Sure.
It looks ag land. Is it ag now?
It's not being used as ag in this area. I'm not sure if they have leases on the back portion for future agricultural use. There's the potential for it.
Yeah, so did we, I didn't see anything from the ag.
They didn't meet.
They
Yeah, they didn't meet in September, so we don't have anything for them on this one or the previous one.
Okay. So next was the driveway length.
Mm-hmm.
It exceeds 250. You know the code for that, right?
Pull off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can add a pull off.
Yeah. It's close, but I mean.
Yeah, it is close.
Yeah.
Happy to put a pull off on that to meet the criteria of the town.
Yeah, I would have. Well,
I can make
New York State actually. But
yeah, but
yeah.
Happy to make that revision as a condition of approval.
Thank you. That was my only comments.
Mike, on that detached garage, you, in your determination, you said a detached private garage up to 900 square feet is allowed in AR2. Isn't that garage 1200? It's 30 by 40? Is that what it is?
He's surprised that people
I
read
believe
them.
it's, yeah, 30 by 40.
So it's 1200 square feet? Does that cause a problem?
This is what zoning district?
AR2.
Can I make a suggestion?
Oh, yeah.
That we leave that issue unresolved? Because, well, not in effect, because it hasn't been recorded at the New York State Secretary of State's office. The town board passed a law yesterday, right, that resolves that issue.
With the 900 square foot.
Yeah. Yes, it eliminates the 900 square foot restriction on detached private garages outside of the RLD.
Detached.
Yes.
Okay.
Was this an attached?
It's
Detached. Detached.
So, well,
And
it's
not there.
no, well,
It's
there's an attached garage and then a farm,
Right.
utility barn. So I'm not sure, depending on how you classify that. The garage is attached to the house, and it's an accessory structure per se.
So as of last night, there isn't a 900 square foot restriction on that barn.
Okay. And that was last night and this is tonight, so essentially it's in effect.
It's effective enough. Well, it will certainly be in effect by the time you sign plans.
I don't have an issue with it. Just want to make sure we're
I
not.
mean, it's been passed. It needs to be filed with the Secretary of State's office. A week or two.
Not only that condition.
No.
Okay. Good, I'm glad. Yeah. That's not an issue.
Inside, we're all about solving issues, solving and resolving.
Any of our other problems you can fix? Okay. I see you got a letter back on the archaeological and historical significance. That's not an issue. You mentioned in your seeker part 113A about wetlands.
Probably adjacent wetlands. I don't have any wetlands on this
I
site.
didn't think so, but
there's a blue line, but it's south of there.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually self-populated, so anything within a certain area, they trigger it as potential impact on wetlands, but
okay.
Currently on this site, there's no wetlands, so.
Yeah, it'll trigger on the 4 meter lines nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 13. You said yes. And then it says if yes, identify the wetland or water body.
Right, well,
Okay.
but even if on the short form,
Okay.
I can't even change that answer.
You could have said under your clarification that it's all site.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we can write something that's what you would like.
You actually don't, for that question, you don't really have to fill it out. It's, when it says if yes, it's referring to that part B of the question. So since it's no, they're not physically altering or approaching it, they don't have to then identify the wetland and extend the alterations.
Okay. We got a pie build review on the property.
That's what they say. I haven't seen any out there.
You haven't seen it yet? If you do, let
But
me
you're
know.
going out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, if you have some questions, we give a chance.
Oh. Okay. Let me just make sure the board's has any other questions before we move to the public. Anybody else? No. It's in the Canandaigua Farmington Water District. Jim Fletcher mentioned you'll see him when you want to put your driveway in. Nothing with CEO. ECB. Set that up. Mark, you can probably read it better than I can on my cell phone. Any concerns there that you see?
No, actually.
There's discussion about landscaping, even though we do not require landscaping be shown for a single family home, not in the RLD. I'm sure they're gonna put some shrubs and trees in.
Sure.
But again, you're not required to provide a landscape.
That wasn't in our contract.
They did question about the pop-up as to the effectiveness of that versus a
dry well.
Dry well, yeah.
We have put mitigation processes in place that don't require a dry well.
And certainly whatever landscaping you do, make sure it's native. As far as lighting.
We usually have a note on there that says dark sky compliant. Yeah.
You usually have it or you have it?
There's a lot of notes. Logan may not have read all of them right before the meeting.
Just
true statement.
Yeah, and that's actually what ECB referred to. There were 3 points that they put as dark sky compliance, native species. And then
that's typical when we do a lighting plan for a landscape plan. We have notes in all like plant listings and things of that nature.
Phosphorus and everything.
But note number 3 does address dark sky.
And then they also added a comment related to stormwater mitigation to be installed in size appropriate to handle the runoff from the house, driveway, barn, and then the other impervious surfaces being installed.
Okay, I'm open to the chat.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bruce Hartpence. I own the adjacent property. And we just have a couple of questions because it's kind of tough to tell looking at the diagram here. One is, so did I hear it right that it's the driveway is going to be 250 feet long?
Longer than that.
Longer than that? So we're just trying to figure out where the house is going to be relative to us and what the distance from the property line is, because we can't read that number on the screen. So what is the distance of the house from the property line, and B, how far back is that house going to be?
There's a table, bulk standard table that spells out front, rear, side setbacks.
You're to the north, Bruce?
We're actually the south. We're 2050.
40 feet 6 inches.
Yeah.
275 feet from the front property line. 25 feet from the north property line, 40.6 feet from the south property line, 881 feet from the rear property.
Yeah, it's a big flag lot back there. They were they were farming it last season, but I think he was just leasing it from the previous owner. So the other question that I have is close to the road there, the area indicated by the green hash marks. What is that?
Septic.
That's where the septic system will be installed.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. It's a lot of clay, and I'm just wondering. So we get runoff from our septic. I mean, it's raised bed. Is that what this is going to be?
Not sure, like the design of that, but we
get a
did
detail
perk
up at
tests
the top.
and deep hole on it. It's designed to those standards of the soil test.
Okay. Yeah, the land here, I mean, I
More
assume
than
it's the
likely,
same.
if you have a raised bed, this one is also a raised bed.
Yeah, it doesn't perk very well. The only question that I would have with regard to that is we have our land slopes down at the toward the road at our septic, but this is almost I won't say the high spot, but if it's not the high spot, it's a very flat spot. And so when it gets wet, I'm just curious about runoff from that, because we get runoff from our septic, my neighbor gets runoff from his septic, and so I just don't want it running into our place, you know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly. So the way we've designed it, there's swales going around the septic to divert water, so runoff does not affect the leach lines per se. We direct water around it, so we're trying not to bring water into the wastewater treatment area.
All right.
So the way we've designed it, it's not just a flat slope. We do have swales going around it.
Okay.
Yeah. And where do those swales drain? That's
so it's
Logan. Yeah, I see it
here.
So they're going off site.
Water comes here and around to the road. Here around. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like it's going to run into the drainage ditch on the side of the road.
Yeah, the water coming off the site. It does not cross over the leach lines.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I think that's about it for our questions.
Okay, thanks for hanging on, Bruce. Thanks for your comments. Is the front yard going to be grass? Just
yeah. I mean, with leach lines like that, you have to maintain. You have to mow them. Can't let plants grow up and roots infiltrate the chambers and block up the flow of gray water, black water, whatever.
Okay, so it'll be grass from right away back to the house, the whole front yard.
More than likely, unless they decide to put some trees.
I know what he's storing in the barn.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you make it out with the septic system as far as improvements?
That again, I don't know if it's a raised bed or not. If it's a raised bed, then it goes to the Department of Health. If it's not, then Tyler can sign off on it. I don't have any correspondence on that as of yet.
Sure.
But that correspondence will be uploaded to the file permit when we do have it. So
this one goes to who to approve?
If it's a raised bed, it goes to the Department of Health. If it's not, it goes to Tyler Bowler.
It's not in the watershed. Yeah, it's not in the watershed.
Oh, if it's not, then does it just get approved by code?
Yeah, it might work a good thing.
I'm guessing.
Not for that. Yeah. No, I don't think so. No, I think he's right. I think Tyler was looking at that. Wasn't he? No, it's not the road.
It's not in the watershed.
Not in the lake watershed.
Oh no.
What is it? Well,
But
either way, he's not getting a building permit until Mike Murphy is satisfied that it's approved.
Absolutely.
That there's adequate, whatever.
We do that, my condition before.
Yeah.
He was not a comment. Right. Yeah. Maybe I'll make a separate condition, septic, the septic system. Approved.
Well. Right. To the code enforcement officer's satisfaction. That way, there is no. We don't know what the approval process is.
I just know that raised beds automatically triggers Department of Health review.
Yeah, because they're not conventional.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right, anything else? I guess we're ready to, no other people from the audience? Let's move ahead with seeker. And this is type 2. So since it's getting late in the evening, let's bundle it type 2 seeker with the site plan.
I've added 2 conditions to it, bringing the total to 9. The plans being revised to depict the fire access pull-out prior signature, and the on-site wastewater treatment system be approved in the satisfaction of the code enforcement officer.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to bundle seeker type 2 for CPN 24090 at 204 Southwest Road, and the single stage site plan with, let me say, you just said 9 conditions.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done deal. Okay, thanks, Logan.
Thanks. I have another one after this.
Oh, you're here for airport?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're here the airport road. Okay, we've got a request for CPN 2024-075 from Logan and Richard Snook to grant a 90-day extension on their site plan approval for the landscaping operation facility out on Airport Road. This is the second?
This is the second one.
All right, what seems to be your hang up?
Same as the first reason why we had to apply, because he's a landscaper, like Lakeview, lawn landscape, and he's been really busy this whole summer and hasn't been able to coordinate finalization of his building with his architect. Talked to the architect last week, and he assured me in the next couple of weeks he's gonna have that finalized where I can submit it to candidate Farmington Water and Sewer to get approval from them for the locations of I believe it's backflow preventers, things of that nature. So that's the only thing holding us up. I mean, all of our plans are where they're supposed to be. It's just one more agency that kind of has a sign off on it before we can hand it in for signature.
Lakeview does snow plowing too, right?
Yeah.
So like
well,
he's going to start.
That's where we're in.
This is the lull
area.
This is the week lull.
Yeah, this is like October.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets something.
Okay. I just wanted to.
Oh yeah.
Put it out there into the ether.
Yeah. Well, it's
snow. Please fly. I know I'm the only one.
Chris,
put it out
any
there.
established precedents on the number of extensions that we allow?
No. Well, we have established precedent on the reasons and the reasonableness. It's been my experience that, you know, if there's good reason, I think if circumstances have changed that might make the site plan approval not such a great idea. Then yeah, you should definitely not extend it.
But I think we actually
revoke it.
we have kind of made it a practice that two
is good, and
this
is only
good
until
reason. Yeah, I mean, that's what we have to. That's what we have to do.
30 days, 60 days.
And the extension is
well,
the expiration date is listed as November 22nd.
Yeah.
So we're kind of already in the halfway of that.
Well, why don't you give them a 90-day from November 22nd, unless there's reason not to? Can anybody think of a reason not to? It's another You know, is traffic gonna increase in that area? Are we planning on rezoning that district? You know, is our DEC regulations gonna change, making his site plan invalid, or the
Standards changed.
our standards changing?
I guess as a personal opinion, kicking the can down the road because I didn't get to it would normally not be a good enough reason for me. However, since we have done two in the past, then I'm okay with it.
Just strongly
I can
recommend we
forewarn you
get
that
going.
it'd be a lot tougher to get a third. You wouldn't get a third.
I have
But
warned them that this is kind of our last
This is
Okay.
chance. So I don't expect us to be applying for any more extensions after this. I have.
Please, yeah, pass that on to your
I will,
client.
and maybe Logan chime in. So after you guys vote yes, and there's a resolution, there's a ton of work to be done to get each agency's approval and coordinate them. One of them says, yeah, no, this looks great, but instead of that water main there, put it here. Well, then you need to go back to the county DOT and say, well, actually, we're gonna need a water main through your road. And so it's a ton of coordination on the engineers, on the applicant's part, and there's fees to be paid. And
But we have many plans before that came before them that was successfully achieved within reasonable amounts of time, so.
I'm not saying it's not doable, I'm saying you gotta focus on it, and we don't have a requirement in our code that says you better hustle. We say, you have this many days, you have 180 days, and you are eligible for 2 90-day extensions. That's what our code says. It doesn't say.
I was under that impression as well.
I guess there's no reason to give people a hard time within their 2 90-day extension. Our code contemplates it so that you don't have to hustle. If you're busy doing other stuff, you can get an extension. It's not like asking a teacher for an extension on your homework. This is actually authorized and contemplated in the code that it's extendable, because it's sometimes you just don't have time to get it done in that compressed time frame. Well, there's time to, I like deadlines more than anything.
I'm not challenging it. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on maybe precedence is the wrong word. That you just made it easier for me to give a hard time on the third one.
And you should.
I do not endorse that.
And the other thing I found out, there's $100 filing fee to ask for an extension, so.
No, there's.
There
Oh,
is.
fees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, then I hereby decree the town is offering third. And they go up incrementally.
We don't want you.
No.
Okay, so did I get a motion? Was that a motion?
I'll make the
Oh,
motion.
to somebody.
I will make a motion for the second 90-day extension on 23093/24075.
And I will quickly second.
Thank you.
Quick second, good Mark. And that is, the extension is to November 22nd.
Extension is to November 22nd. Yes.
Okay.
That is the due.
Get it done before Turkey Day.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right.
Thank you.
Aye.
All in favor?
Wait, hang on. You're granting a 90-day extension from today. It's not from the past expiration. It's not from the expiration, and you're not legally allowed to do that. It's 90 days from today's date.
So that's what's
Okay.
today.
September
September.
24th.
24th of August.
I haven't looked at the section in town code anytime recently, maybe I'm wrong, but it's a 90 that you're granting a 90-day extension, not a 90-day from the last time it was.
It's not from the application.
Well, the first expiration date on the 90 days was August 24th, and so it's.
Well, then it's lapsed, and they couldn't build it during that time. New York State law says that the reasons for revoking, you have to have reasons to invalidate a site plan. One of them is it expired.
But they got the request in before the 24th.
Right.
We just didn't put it on our agenda. I think our policy has been, as long as they get their request in before the expiration. we'll
Right.
honor it at a subsequent meeting at our committee.
Well, what's the
December,
expiration date?
It's November. From today or from?
No, I've decided the board can do, the board isn't interested in
Yeah.
doing what the code says, let's just do it how we want.
Someone's gonna take their ball and go, okay.
Motion was the
You already
regulation says the
passed it.
22nd, so it'll be Turkey Day, before Turkey Day, okay?
Thanks, everyone.
Well, because also I didn't remember, maybe the code has changed, and so.
Okay, we got minutes from the meeting 2 weeks ago. The 10th. Any further additions, corrections to what Corinne sent out? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thanks, Corinne. Nice job on those. No letters of credit, no sureties. Other business. I was gonna ask Sarah, that joint meeting we had back in June 10th.
Yeah.
Remember all that?
Yeah.
We sat here for
Yeah.
2 hours and we were gonna get some sort of wrap up or
Synopsis,
conclusion from Matt Horn.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Look at that.
And he was gonna send out the future land use map, or we were
And that.
gonna review that.
Busy and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll make a little
Things
note
happen.
there, but take that.
Yeah.
Chuck Boiler would like to know.
Yeah, any more details you can provide?
I'm sure he submitted a bill, so I'm gonna submit a bill.
Send the stuff from the joint.
The joint
Summary
meeting
of
of June-
discussion
It was
from
on
the.
June 10th.
Synopsis of our joint meeting.
We
Yeah.
meeting of all the boards. Can't blame you. Okay, town board none right now. The town board last night on Uptown Landing, declared to be the lead agency on the seeker for Uptown Landing.
July or August. Declared. They're waiting for they didn't do anything.
30 days.
Well, they're just waiting for it to hear back from the Ontario County Planning, but it didn't get referred in time.
Okay,
So
would you send that to them?
That was the lead agency coordination package, so
Okay.
we're gonna receive the 30 days starts.
So Sarah said that it's gonna be on our agenda for next month. Yeah, well, no, I know we don't have a site plan yet, so I didn't at that point, and we did do the advisory.
it's not gonna be on.
I know.
Oh.
If we have any
Yeah.
comments
They'll put
on
those on
the
the agenda.
town board being the lead agency.
Oh,
You don't actually have comments because the way that MRB is planning on doing it is to actually have two separate seeker approval processes. It's not illegal segmentation. It just makes sense because the town board is considering an action that is granting incentive zoning. The planning board will be considering action that is granting site plan approval. Two very different actions under the law, and they require two different types of reviews. Two different focus of the review. So I think I would recommend that your comments be, have at it. Great, you be lead agency for your thing, we'll be lead agency for our.
Oh, let me see the site plan.
Yeah, you'll do seeker again, or different seeker, really.
For the site plan. Because they're doing it for the zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's on the schedule, parts.
Yeah, that, the question is why is it, and I guess we just. Okay, special projects, 10-8, next meeting, well, it was a short agenda, got one item added tonight, the continuation of what's like Boulevard, rather short agenda, maybe we could talk a little bit about the tree and shrub standards, guidelines. Did everyone see those? Okay. How we want to use them, maybe, well, we can talk about them specifically, and then how we want to use them, or are they gonna be a guideline? Are they gonna be a standard? Do we agree with them? Maybe spend some time on that if we have time that night.
For me, it would be good to understand what those options are. So I think I understand what each of those words mean. But I'm not sure I understand the enforceability of them all. So a guideline is a recommendation that we'd really like to see. A standard is the standard enforceable?
Everything's enforceable in a way.
And we can talk about all of this on the 8th.
Yeah,
that's my, because I've been looking at things that I've been thinking from the environmental pieces of.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah.
My preference is you may notice, because I would prefer that they be black and white and a rule we can follow with enough gray that gives us flexibility of what it is that we need to do. But I don't always know what some of these words are interpreted by you and others like you.
So it's an art form. I'll just give you a quick, it's a science and an art, with a guideline. You know, it gives you reason to deny a site plan application if they don't comply with your guidelines. It's a good supporting reason. So if you could sue and I go to the judge and say, no, they published guidelines and this person submitted a site plan that didn't comply with those guidelines, the judge says, okay, what the planning board needs to make it to back up its decisions is reasons, real good reasons. It gives you a reason.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to take it a step further, trying not to get sued. Not that I care.
It's theoretical. It's the theoretical lawsuit. No. If you're going to deny a site plan, but I'm going to try and insist that you have reasons to do so.
But from what I understand, it's also so rare that there's a court in this land that ever goes against a town board.
If you have reasons. If you don't have reasons, you're gonna get overturned as arbitrary and capricious. So, but I can elaborate on that. It's a good question.
Yeah, another option is put in our site design manual, that's the landscaping section. And these are acceptable trees, shrubs that we'll accept, and so a designer would go to that and say these are all that are permitted. And
yeah, I think it's probably more relevant to say these aren't, right?
There probably more that aren't than that are. I mean,
so you'd be hard pressed to justify enacting a rule saying you have to use these plants in the front.
That's right.
Something from this list. There's property owners are allowed to design their own landscape.
That's why I'm saying that those that aren't allowed. So because that's typically what we do is ECB gives us a list of stuff that's not native, and then we say, hey, you should get that out of there.
Yeah, you can prohibit things that are going to be.
Okay, so this list would be a prohibited list rather than acceptable list.
Yeah,
I think you could do both.
Why don't you not make a list at all, and then we won't run.
Remember,
I mean, staff could. You could make a list of staff recommendations, say, hey, the planning board don't like these ones, and you will wind up coming back another month if you show up with the site plan as.
Well,
I prefer the planning board doesn't.
I would rather never
publish a tree list.
And maybe it's like percentages.
Or well, like this case with West Terra, they submitted that plan. I sent it to Kim. Kim said, could you give it a once over? And she came back with a couple.
I really want this one.
I mean, we could do that, but I don't want to put
nowhere
near. It's on the ECB anyways, right?
Right.
And then we get recommendations from the ECB.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if the ECB doesn't mind being the Bush police.
I mean, the ECB can publish a list saying these are some recommendations that we think fit in really.
They have.
With the town, great. Then do that. But the planning board should not be making rules about trees. You gotta address each application as it comes, and unless there's a reason to reject someone's site plan, the applicant should be designing their own stuff.
Right, because we take recommendations from ECB, you know, all this stuff we take.
Okay, so can we just, but then can we give the ECB some more authority?
Yes.
So just put it in and say, make part of the code that everything ECB requests is golden. And then that gives it away. Then we don't have to reread their notes that are in every finding anyways.
Let's talk about it on the,
Oh, I thought we were really great.
Can I make a motion?
if you wanna fight.
The motion, go for it. You got it.
Motion to adjourn at 2025.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Mark taking over everything.